Virtual participants use the raise hand feature. Come to the podium, or virtual participants unmute your microphone when called upon. State your name and address for the record. And after speaking, write your name and address on the record sheet. Virtual participants do not complete this step. To allow every participant an opportunity to be heard, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The chairman will indicate when your allowed time has elapsed. In the interest of running an orderly meeting, we ask that you do not duplicate comments made by a previous speaker. Instead, please simply confirm your agreement with previous statements. When appropriate, the commissioners may refer an item identified during public comments to the county administrator for further action. Please note that if a speaker intends to give commissioners any records of any kind as a part of a presentation, the records must be handed directly to the clerk of the board for distribution.
Amanda, that was a great job. That should have been played during the halftime show of the Super Bowl.
All right. Is there anyone present that would like to go ahead and make public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to Prosser. Anybody in Prosser?
That's even Prosser.
I'm
looking online.
All right, we'll move on to online.
I see a lot of people online, but no hands are raised. Give me one more second.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody. You guys either, right? Back there? Yeah, no hands raised.
All right, we will move on to, we'll close out public comment and move on to the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda items A through N.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Moving down to scheduled business. The first one is the 2026 Historic Preservation Grant Overview and Committee Funding Recommendations.
Good morning, commissioners.
And your name and your position, how about that?
Yes, Katie DeValle, and I'm the communications coordinator for Benny.
Thank you.
Is this working? '26 Historic Preservation Grant Funding Recommendations to the board today. A little history. I know the board is aware of the program, but it was established in 2007. It promotes preservation and historic programs within the borders of Benton County to increase knowledge and service to residents and to better preserve, exhibit, and interpret historic items. So the 2026 Historic Preservation Committee consists of myself, Adam File, our Sustainable Development Manager, Dwayne Davidson, and Brenda Chilton, our County Auditor. We received 7 applications for project funding this year, totaling $49,895. The budget, or the cycle budget for each year, is $50,000. So we were pleased for all of the requests to come below those amounts and able to fund those. The available, and detailed information for each one of those requests is in your board packet. I will briefly go over each one that is for your approval today. The first program is from the Benton County Sheriff's Office for the historic displays. If you see over at the district court, they would like to implement historic law enforcement display in our building for the public to view as they enter their office. The next request was from White Bluffs Quilt Museum for museum management software. We funded several requests from White Bluffs Quilt Museum in the past, and this year they requested museum management software. The City of Prosser for the records restoration and organization project. After the fire that damaged a lot of their records, they're looking to restore those city records and do some organization. The Richland Players for refurbishing and rebuilding the stage at the Richland Players Theater. East Benton County Historical Society, they requested for America 250 programming and exhibit makeover. The last two are Benton County Museum for Prosser Oral History Collection to edit, print, and publish volumes 1 and 2. And then Benton County Facilities. They will be working to restore the Freedom Shrine display over at the court and to safely remove and store and stand professionally mount them on the wall to preserve those documents over there. So those are the requests this year, again, that total $49,895. And I have the 7 agreements for your approval today. Secondly, I'm requesting for the contract with WSU for the archiving of women oral histories in Benton County. It was grouped in with this set this year to be removed from the motion. They were requesting a program extension, but we did not receive one signature. So I'd like to remove that from the motion, and it's stated, updated in the motion request. Open for any questions.
Questions?
No.
Commissioner Delvin?
I don't see the motion, but Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution as presented to the board on the 2026 Historic Preservation Grant Awards, accepting the WSU request. Does that work?
There should be a motion.
Yeah,
I see it. I see the motion.
Actually,
Actually, I see.
Oh, there we go.
I see the motion. You want to make the motion?
Oh, okay, I see it.
Okay.
Now, okay, I'm learning here. Okay, we'll start again, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the 2026 Historic Preservation Grant allocation as presented and hereby authorize the county administrator to sign the individual grant agreements with the Benton County Sheriff's Office, White Bluffs Quilt Museum, City of Prosser, the Richland Players, East Benton County Historical Society, Benton County Museum, and the Benton County Facilities.
Second.
We'll have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, board.
Next, we have a subdivision vacation, and Damian Hooper, our planning manager, is up. Good morning.
David Hooper, Benton County Planning. The planning division was originally slated to have a public hearing with you today to consider this vacation that is on your agenda. The applicant ran into a number of logistical issues with their approvals to the irrigation district last week, and that necessitates postponing that application. The planning division removed that item from your agenda as a hearing item, placed it on other business so we could at least talk about it here. And we'll reschedule that hearing later this summer to accommodate the construction schedule and everything else that the applicant is going to need to meet. Wanted to be here in case any members of the public speak on this item. I can connect with them, get their contact information, and notify them of the new hearing date. No action for the board to take care of today. Just an FYI, more or less.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Next one, we'll have the auditor's office reorganization. It'll be our county auditor, Brenda Chilton, and our human resources director, Carly Navitt.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I have before you this morning, I appreciate your time to present a reorganization in the auditor's office. This reorganization originated from a routine review after some staffing changes. We always take the opportunity anytime we have vacancies in the office to review our organizational chart and determine whether or not, because of substantial changes, there needs to be a reorganization. That's what we've done here. Our goal is always to keep the office efficient, compliant, and aligned with growing responsibilities. It's really a limited scope change. There are 3 positions involved. It is addressing increased regulatory and statutory requirements, audit complexity and readiness, and oversight and accuracy in our core operations. It is budget positive. It's funded through vacancy savings as well as an anticipated increase in licensing revenue due to legislation passed last year that increased licensing revenue starting January 1st of this year. So there is no increase overall to our budget. It does improve compliance, accountability, and service delivery. I met with Carly. I met with Linda just to make sure that everything looked okay budget-wise. And thank you to Carly and Linda both. Carly assisted with the preparation of a new job description. Should we want to talk about that? So I'm requesting today 2 budget adjustments that will achieve the goal of reorganization, and that includes transfers within the general fund as well as election reserve, and those are before you this morning. In addition, Carly prepared the placement of the licensing specialist position, grade 115, and there is a resolution before you as well.
Any questions?
So, how does it affect the election reserve? Can that be used within your election reserve? Those aren't designated funds that have to be used for elections at all? I mean, you can move that?
Those funds they are kept separately. As you may know, the funds we receive generally in the election reserve fund are as a result of cost recovery.
Okay.
Anytime we conduct an election for a jurisdiction, we do cost recovery. And for voter registration, we do bill the cities annually because they are responsible for the cost of voter registration for residents, registered voters that live within the city jurisdictions.
Okay,
Does
so
that
that,
answer your question?
well, but I mean, so some of this money is being used within the elections, right? The transfer fund within the election. Is it one of your positions? I couldn't see that in there. That's why I wonder how are you spending the election monies?
I apologize, I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, if it's in the election reserve account, does it have to stay for elections only? Maybe that's what I'm asking.
Well,
Or can you move it about your auditor's office, those funds, if that's okay to
that
do
would be
that?
a rare occasion because generally, the general fund, in some years we fully fund elections and voter registration, but in some years, the election reserve fund is subsidized by the general fund.
Okay, well, I just want someone to ask, why are you using election reserve funding for a licensed specialist position? That's what
Oh, no.
that's what I'm.
We're not, yeah. So the budget adjustment in election reserve is to recategorize one of our positions from office assistant to an office associate.
Within that.
I'm sorry, to an election specialist.
Oh, okay. That's what, maybe I didn't read it all. Okay, that's what I was trying to get.
It's an election specialist.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And
okay.
a licensing.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure the public's clear, but they ask. Okay, thank you.
I do have a few questions myself. So licensing specialist position, what is that? I just want to make sure I understand. I think I know, but I want to make sure.
So we did establish a new classification for that. It was about 5 years ago. You may know that we contract with the state of Washington Department of Licensing to provide licensing and titling services. When our new contract was entered roughly 5 years ago, there were new contractual obligations to increase oversight over sub-agencies. And we're adding a new sub-agency. We've gained some efficiencies in the Prosser community at the courthouse, but we're adding a sub-agency that will increase those responsibilities. So just some heavier duties related to the oversight of sub-agents that were not fully implemented due to COVID. And so it's just been the last couple of years, and it became clear that we needed to adjust our staffing some to account for that. It's higher level work and warrants having a specialist over an office assistant or office associate.
So I know that they're going to have a private, company that does licensing for car tabs and stuff like that in Prosser. But did we get away from that at the county and the Prosser courthouse? Are they still providing those services there? Because I know that the mayor of Prosser had told me that those services were not being, licensing. You couldn't get your car tabs no longer at the county there in the courthouse. So are we doing that now? Are we going to not do that? Or are we just relying on the private sector?
We're relying on the private business. We did a cost benefit analysis of the services that we were providing at the courthouse. And we weren't even close to covering the cost of providing services. Sub-agents make more than the county does because the service fee that a customer pays on their licensing transaction, if they come to a county location, that service fee goes to fund the state ferry system. If you go to a sub-agent, that's how they make their money. And so during our cost benefit analysis, we were looking for the best option to still provide licensing services in the Prosser community. and save taxpayer money. We were upside down in providing those services at the courthouse.
Perfect. I thought I'd ask that question so we could get to that answer, because I think that was a big thing there in Prosser, and it wasn't cost effective for the county to go ahead and proceed any further with that.
I
But
dragged my heels for a long time before making that decision, but it just became painfully clear that post-COVID, when so many people moved to doing online transactions and those types of things, that there was a shift in the work, and it went towards the benefit of the smaller private businesses and away from the county provided services.
which is great. It provides additional jobs here within the county on those vendors as well. So I think it makes sense, and you're reallocating, you're structuring your funding in the right way for the taxpayer.
It's important to point out that we are still providing services in the courthouse. We still provide recording services. And we are still fully providing election services during election time, so people can come in, register to vote, get a ballot. During the entire voting period, we are providing those services, and we'll continue to do so.
Perfect. Now the two hard questions, not really hard, is it says funded through existing budget allocations for vacant positions. So that is the part we'll always look at, because I know within that we're responsible for budgeting for the entire county. If we get it wrong, then we're like other counties that are in deficits right now. So allocation for vacant positions, can you explain that a little bit? And will that continue? Are those going to be filled in the future? Because then it offsets it if you don't. So
yeah, no, the vacant positions will not be filled. We will take those unused funds, shift them over to the other positions. In addition, I mentioned earlier that the legislature passed a fee increase on licensing services, and it will more than cover. There will be a surplus of those funds that will shift to the general fund for uses in other areas of the general fund that don't involve the auditors.
perfect. And then the last question for Carly and Linda, because I know, it doesn't say, it says recommended approval for resolutions, but I always like to ask those two, because they're kind of the gatekeepers for us as well. You see a thumbs up from the finance director, thumbs up from HR as well. Perfect. Thank you very much for explaining all that. I like to go ahead and get the public when it talks about whether it's budget neutral or it's going to cost the county, that we have a good reasoning for why all the electeds and why we do what we do. We're pretty financially sound in how we do our process. Thank you, guys. Any other questions?
What's the turnout? Because today's the last day, ballots have to be in today.
I think we're at about 20%. Yeah.
And that kind of benefits school levies, doesn't it?
Yeah. Special elections generally have a lower turnout.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the resolution setting compensation for the licensing specialist position at grade 115 on the Benton County Courthouse pay metrics, and approve the transfer of funds within the general fund 0010 Department 102 for position reorganization as presented, and approve the transfer of funds within the election reserve 1110 for position reorganization as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Brandon.
Moving on, 1 second here. Termination of mutual jail use agreement, and our Benton County Deputy County Administrator Matt Rasmussen will be presenting.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
What I have before you today is a notice of termination to be sent to Franklin County regarding the interlocal agreement we have for sharing inmates within the jail. And so the agreement did allow for both counties to transfer inmates back and forth if there were conflicts with other inmates in the facility. We only use that agreement maybe once a year, not real often. But it was beneficial. We have a replacement agreement with Walla Walla County. We actually think that's a little more beneficial. It puts a little more distance. There's a lot of, the inmates in our facility often end up in Franklin County's facility and vice versa, just by the nature of how crime works in the Tri-Cities. And so having it be a little further apart allows for a little bit more of that separation, and maybe we don't have those conflicts as often. So we don't feel like we need this agreement anymore. It does require 90 days notice. We do have one inmate currently in the Franklin County facility. But we expect they will have their sentencing hearing tomorrow, and then they would be transferred on to the state facility. So we wouldn't be sending any new inmates over there. They would not be sending any new inmates over here. We don't have any of their inmates right now. So I think now's a good time to end this arrangement.
Nope, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a resolution terminating the agreement for mutual use of the jail facilities with Franklin County.
Second.
And then I just want to make one comment so it makes it clear before I go ahead and do that for discussion. As far as when you're talking about separation, would you give an example? And a good example would be gang members.
Gang members be good. I mean, the current example is we had a corrections officer who was convicted of a crime and is in jail, and we would not want him in our facility because of his interaction with the inmates there. So we would move him to the Franklin County facility. So.
Perfect. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, moving down to victim witness domestic violence grant, and that would be our Chief Civil Attorney, Jeff Altman from the prosecutor's office.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
So a problem we have in Benton County, and I think there's this is a problem in all counties, perhaps across the nation, is domestic violence crimes. And not only are the victims of domestic violence impacted, but so are witnesses and also survivors. And so we have a unique grant opportunity provided by the Washington State Department of Commerce that will provide for nearly $48,000 in grant funding. So it's budget neutral to the county. That would allow us to provide services to victims, witnesses, and survivors of domestic violence here in Benton County. Interestingly enough, that the Washington State Department of Commerce does a survey of all the counties, and based on the need of the counties, allocates a certain amount of money what they think will help the community. King County was number one, as you might expect. What you might not expect is number two is Benton County. We actually were ahead of Pierce County and Snohomish County. And so I don't exactly know how they scrutinized our county, but there's obviously clearly a need that we have in this community to protect our victims, witnesses, and survivors. So in the packet I provided you, hopefully you got a chance to review that, but this is something that we're asking for approval for the prosecuting attorney's office to apply for, so we can get the money and use it for education and services.
Nope. No, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution authorizing the prosecutor's office to apply for the victim witness domestic violence grant.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. That is a needed service. All right, moving down to Shoreline Reconveyance Support Letter and our very own, you're going to be doing it? We had Adam File here, but.
Yes, I'm filling in for Adam this morning.
He's
So
recovering from the Bad Bunny incident. So Santa Clara.
he is here today. Okay, so good morning, commissioners. I'm filling in for Adam this morning. What I have for you today is a support letter for Congressman Newhouse regarding the Tri-City Shoreline Reconvenience legislation. Our goal is to receive consensus from the board today. We want to make sure we get this off in time to legislation with no board meeting next week. So as we move the reconveyance legislation forward, we wanted to have a statement from the community in a single letter format. So the other parties include Pasco, Richland, Kennewick, Port of Pasco, Yakima, and Umatilla tribes. I believe the board has already seen this letter. Adam has sent it around, and it was also spoken to a couple weeks ago by TRIDEC in a board meeting. So again, we're not asking for signatures today. TRIDEC is going to put together an official letter, and Adam will bring it to the chair for a signature when it becomes available.
No, just comment too, like TRIDEC, I'm on that board. TRIDEC's awesome. They do a great job. So I'm all for the motion on this one too.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Shoreline Reconveyance Support Letter prepared by TRIDEC and authorize the chairman to sign such letter by TRIDEC.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right. Moving down to other business. Any department heads or directors, any comments, updates? Don't see that. We're going, oh, Judge?
You ever wondered what happened? You have a graduation tomorrow? You see, it takes about 45 minutes to rattle, because there's 3 people graduating. Judge and I worked a little long-winded, so 3 people. Yeah, I'm that judge, so I'm going to say that. But if you ever wondered how, it's a pretty good time to just come see 3 success stories of that program.
Is the judge going to dance like Bad Bunny? Okay.
Every time I go to those, I think it's just outstanding. You do
Yeah.
a great job on that, and to hear their stories and all the family and friends and support that comes in to see those graduations. It's really good. I see some, and you got law enforcement there supporting the whole thing. So they're very good programs. All right, going to elected officials. We have our Benton County Auditor, Brendan Chilton. None. Bear with me here. I'm going all the way through. We have our Benton County Clerk, Mrs. Delvin. She has something here.
Well, you didn't tell me this before.
Yeah.
It's the other way around.
It's boss lady, Delvin. Boss lady.
To know that the former Benton County Clerk, Kay Staples, who served for 19 years until 2005, passed away about 3 weeks ago. So I just wanted you to, none of you
Yeah.
gentlemen were here.
Yeah.
Pretty much nobody in the audience was here when Kay Staples was here. I was, but I was a clerk. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to our Benton County Treasurer, Ken Spencer. Anything?
Letter is being mailed today.
Excuse me. Oh, broke up a little bit. Oh.
Our favorite letter is going out today.
Oh. All right. Perfect. And I'm going our Benton County Coroner is here as well. Anything, sir?
No, I can't follow the taxation.
And I'm looking, am I missing anybody? I'm trying to go ahead and make sure I've got everybody in the audience. All right. With that being said, Commissioner McKay, anything? Commissioner Delvin?
Yes, last week I attended the ECA meeting in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Never been there before. It was cold and snowy in Tennessee. But the meeting was for really to have a discussion about the Department of Energy's RFI request for information from states and communities about hosting a complete cycle of nuclear fuel, from manufacturing to reprocessing to interment, and with the possibility also of having kind of a collective intermediate collection of spent nuclear fuel, and that's dealing with the commercial reactors around the country. Good discussion. There was a DOE representative there to talk about that RFI and with the expectations. You have to keep in mind that Department of Energy has about $54 billion account sitting in the U.S. Treasury that they've been collecting from utilities, which ratepayers have been paying into, and DOE regularly is sued by those utilities because they're not doing anything right now. All that spent fuel is sitting next to the reactor on concrete pads and casts. So, it's DOE's, the federal government's responsibility to deal with that. Well, they're finally getting around to doing something, or they're requesting. So there were different communities there. It was kind of frustrating for me being from here that, I think the community is all on board with nuclear. It's just the state. So I know David Replog attended and him and I talked about it. And I think we're going to try to get a elected leaders meeting coming up here just to make sure that we're all on board with nuclear, right? The whole community is, and maybe we just apply as a community and not necessarily for permanent repository, but, maybe some of the reprocessing. And I know Department of Energy just signed a lease for the, with a company that is looking into doing that out in the Hanford area. It's on federal land. But, and to notify the state that, that we're interested in as a community. Even the state of New York was represented there, and they're, again, not necessarily looking at a deep geological permanent repository, but maybe some of the reprocessing. There was 3 or 4 companies that are looking at reprocessing. This country's avoided that reprocessing of that unspent, back from Jimmy Carter's rule or edict or executive order that said we're not going to reprocess nuclear fuel because, maybe some proliferation issues at the time. Well, that's no longer a concern with the technology now and how the disposition of those fuels. And that can be, handled. And so, DOE it's a liability for the federal government. So they need to start. So they're finally acting on that. Now, does that come to a solution on the permanent repository for nuclear waste? Probably not. But if you look at France has been doing around 70 years or more, maybe 60 to 70 years that they've been dealing with they process, or one company processes, I think 1,500 metric tons a year of spent nuclear fuel. And they end up, after reprocessing, taking isotopes off for medical, space, and everything, they end up with only 4%. 4% that they vitrify into glass, like we're doing out in the Hanford now, finally. And so all of that 1,500 metric tons comes down to 4% of that. There's a gentleman there from the French company, because they're looking at going to Oak Ridge. I mean, Oak Ridge is going, they're jumping on the opportunities on this for new fuel manufacturing, reprocessing. They don't want to their geology doesn't allow for a permanent disposal, but yeah, it's good to see Paducah is on board, some Ohio. So there's some communities out there that seriously want to do something because it provides economic benefit, a lot of economic benefit. Those are high paying. But France, yeah, they get theirs down to 4%. So we were in a room about this size, and he said, what we've processed so far today would fit maybe in a quarter of this room that they put underground. So that means if you do it, you could, and so I asked the obvious question to the DOE person who sat there for a day and a half in the hot seat taking all these questions. And I said, well, so, Hanford, we're finally vitrifying waste. What's going to be the disposition of that, or what's the thought on that? And she just looked at me and said, we're not even thinking about that.
Yeah.
We got this liability here with the commercial unspent nuclear fuel. We got to, that we get sued on. So yeah, that defense waste, yeah, we're not. So I don't know. I don't know if the community, yeah, we're making glass out there, but that glass is going to stay out there probably 100 years, maybe. I may be way off on that prediction. I know my lifetime, I'm never going to see that glass leave the Hanford to go somewhere.
Agreed.
For permanent disposal. It's going to sit out there. Maybe it's good that, we're solving some of the leaking tanks and, the waste is being, but one thing I've learned from talking to a lot of people who handle waste is when you handle waste, you create more waste. So I don't know if we know what's going to happen with the waste from processing. It's piling up somewhere out there. So what happens to that waste? So it's good that we're making glass, but it's not going anywhere. So it's people, the community. That's why I think we as a community have an opportunity to maybe, because once you vitrify it, you're not going to reprocess it. It's done, right? It's done. Unless you want to heat your home or something. But yeah, so, or send it to the sun or something. Yeah, it's not gonna. So, but interesting, good conversation. And the ECA has several webinars coming up. I've been listening to those coming up in the next month or two about reprocessing and nuclear waste. So it's interesting. But I just want to let you guys know, and I'm talking again to David Replog is setting up a meeting with leaders from the community, just make sure we're all on the same page. And that we're interested in maybe submitting information to Department of Energy on this. I mean, you got one company already out there looking, General Manners. It's looking at taking, I think, some of the fuel from Columbia Generating Station and processing in that FMEF, you know, they want isotopes of what they're looking for. So I think there's opportunities, but I think we as a community need to get together and make sure there's something. So hopefully that'll happen in the next month.
No, I think, you know, when you're talking ECA, so Energy Community Alliance, it has to do with, there's so many different cleanup sites within the United States. I know we're like number one. I think the cleanup site within the country, there were number one. I think we're number one.
Yeah, with the
number
most,
one liability, with the most.
If you want to say number one.
Yeah, number one with the highest liability.
Right,
in the
right.
country. And so it's very important. So I know I was on that for a number of years from the city of Richland that carried over here. We're both on that. You're actually on the executive board, the
Right,
secretary.
yeah.
You try to get me on the finance side as the treasurer and threw me in front of the bus. And I looked at that guy in New Mexico and I had to have it. He wanted it. But that is where all these elected officials, whether you're mayors or county commissioners, through all these different sites, get together, work. We'll be in DC. We work together with senators, congressmen and women, all trying to get cleanup done, bring cleanup dollars here, as well as promoting small modular reactors and a number of factors. And so we're all teaming up, and it works pretty well.
Yeah,
We have a strong
meeting,
team.
that meeting's coming up in April.
Yep.
Small nuclear technology.
That one's in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
On the nuclear stuff, I graduated college in 2007. I did construction out at Energy Northwest. I want to say between like 8 and 10, I did like 3 projects out there. It is fascinating how clean it is out there, and the nuclear waste for how big the plant is. It's so much cleaner than doing a coal mine or, you know, a coal plant or. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a lot cleaner for nuclear energy. So I'm all supportive of nuclear energy for how, it still has nuclear waste, but it's very small compared to what's going on in the environment and all these other energy plants.
Yeah, and the new technology on fuel that they did give us a tour of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory there, where they've been developing that fuel since the 70s, those new halos and what they call it, Adam, help me. He's not here. You know, the little ceramic coated nuclear fuel where it's hard, you know, it takes the proliferation issue off pretty much, and it's easier to recycle. It's high heat. You can, you know, it's new technology. You don't have to worry about cooling and that kind of stuff. So, you know, that new technology can solve a lot of the waste from the new reactors. So
because when I went out there the first time, like, holy big tanks of water, and they use it for the cooling.
Right?
Exactly. So I was surprised about
They
that.
cool the fuel down so much. And
also, too, I'm glad that we still have the Snake River dams, you know, for helping out throughout the community to the other dams down the Columbia towards, you know, the Oregon coast and stuff. So those dams help quite a bit too. But nuclear energy is awesome as well.
So one last thing, real quick, I'm going to start sounding like a broken record like I did when I first came into office here and stuff. So for all the department heads, all the directors, all the electeds, we're starting to go ahead and we're going to start working on our biannual budget. So keep in mind as we're moving that way through to make sure that we're not going overboard, that we're working through within the budgets and really watching that, crossing your T's and dotting your I's, because I definitely will have to do that, and I will definitely do that. We've kept the county out of a deficit. I know that our neighboring county to the west of us is in about a $16 million deficit. I know other counties are trying to go ahead and stay out of the deficit, and the only way we're required by law to balance, and the only way we can balance if we don't do things and make sure that we're within our budgets is to lay off or cut services. I don't want to do either. I know the board has been very good about that. All the electeds, all the departments have been awesome. So let's go ahead and continue that on as we're working through that process. I know my finance director is looking at me smiling right now. I'm reminding everybody, Linda. So with that being said, we're moving on to an executive session in reference to litigation. And Jeff, how long do we need? 10 minutes? Okay, thank you. We'll be going to the executive session, and the time is 9:41. Thank you.